We are here on the couch with director Ramona Diaz, who's going to be talking about her film. So tell everybody about the documentary and the heart of it.
Okay, the name of the documentary is Don't Stop Believin, Everyman's Journey, and it's really about Arnel Pineda, who in his first year with the iconic American rock band Journey. We followed him on his first tour with the band in '08, and actually the film is about him becoming a rock star.
Now, were you a fan of Journey before this film, or was it that you saw that a Filipino lead man took over the band and you really wanted to document it? What was kind of like the thing that made you really interested in doing this film?
I mean, I knew about Journey. I wasn't a big fan, but I knew their songs, and I grew up to them, so they were very familiar and iconic in my memory. But the fact that it was a Filipino getting this gig, it's so unlikely. So that was really the impetus for the film and my wanting to do it. And of course, when I finally met Arnel and realized that he's so charismatic and golden in front of the camera. Not everyone, I mean, the camera only loves certain people, and the camera loves Arnel.
Yeah.
So the combination of that and Journey, you can't miss. You got to do it. I think I would have regretted it if it had passed me by, or if I didn't do anything to make it come true.
Now, when did you find out Arnel's interesting backstory? Because we got to see it in the film about him being homeless and the struggles that he had just as a human being. Did you know that before going in, or was it not until you started doing the documentary that you're like, wow, we really have this kind of rag to riches story that we can put out there?
I didn't know it until I first met Arnel. And I met Arnel up in Northern California when they were rehearsing right before they embarked on the '08 Revelation tour. And the reason we were there filming them was the band said, okay, because they weren't convinced they had a story. They were saying, they said, well, why don't you do it next year? I'm like, next year there's no story. It has to be the first year with the band, right? That's the story. They said, why don't you come out and film with the band for a day, cut something, and show us the story you're going to make? So that's what I did. And that's the first time I met Arnel. And that first time he told me his story, I'm like, oh my God, on top of that, you have this amazing personal history. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, gotta do it. Yeah, that was the first time I heard of it too. And of course, he told me more and more, as I spent time with him on the road.
We needed a singer. We needed a singer badly. We had an album planned. We really weren't sure where we were gonna go. I think we all were stressing about it somewhat. Neil spent all of his waking time on the internet.
I looked and looked and looked and looked and looked and looked. I was getting really burnt out. I wasn't finding anyone. I stumbled upon Arnel like in the 11th hour when I was ready to give up. I just clicked on a link, like I'll give it one last push, and I pushed it, and Arnel popped up with his band singing in Manila.
Highway ride into the midnight sun. Wheels go round around on my mind.
And I go, wow, he's got some serious pipes. And proceeded to watch all the other videos.
This story would not have been possible 10 to 15 years ago. It wouldn't have. So it's a really modern day. I say it's a Cinderella with a very modern day twist.
Good.
It is. Without YouTube, it couldn't have happened. I mean, the fact that it did happen because of YouTube, but he was able to stay and be successful because he has talent.
Yeah.
So that's still at the end. Of course you need, these days, YouTube, social media, but talent still, cream still rises to the top, right? Because without talent, you still, even if you're discovered, but if you can't make it, you can't. And I think it's charisma. You can never teach charisma. You can never teach that performance on stage. And no one ever taught Arnel that. He has it in spades.
Yeah.
And I think that's, so beyond YouTube. Okay, YouTube is just the beginning. To keep the gig and to be successful, it's all on you, man. It's like no social media will ever help you do that. Yeah.